guys, it's Chantel with Wildberry Quilting, and today we're going to sew the Northern Tracks quilt kit. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit of a spooky story that happened to me. So grab a cup of tea and let's get started. All right, so we are doing the Northern Tracks pattern. And the very first step, I am attaching these long strips to the sides. So, our spooky, creepy story. Now, this is real life. This actually happened to us. Still is, really, because we still live in this house. Everything started when we first moved in. When we first went to the signing for the house, we found out that the people who lived here before us had not been living here for quite some time, which really surprised us because all of their furniture and everything was still here in the house. And before we even got to the signing, part of the agreement was that we give them an extra, I forget now if it was 2 weeks or a month to move out, in addition to, the regular closing time. And I don't know how common that was. We were told that was a little bit unusual, but not, not really strange, just a little unusual. But when we got there and we found out that they hadn't even been living here, it was just kind of a little bit strange as to why all of their stuff was still here. And I don't think the husband would have ever let slip that they weren't living here. It was the wife who kind of accidentally mentioned it. And when she did, the husband was very quick to jump in and say, oh, well, yeah, we're not living there anymore because we're taking over my dad's old house. And, they're buying that from his father. So, again, it seemed justified. It didn't really seem that strange, other than maybe how unhappy he seemed that his wife had mentioned that they weren't living there anymore. But, we were excited about getting our first house, and it was an easy thing to overlook. Fast forward to, sometime the first month that we were living here, and we were getting a lot of their mail. They hadn't changed their address at the post office, and all of their mail was still coming here. So we contacted them and let them know that we had all this mail set aside for them. And the husband dropped by to pick it up. Well, the husband was also a plumber. That was his profession. And we were having some kind of issue in the kitchen. I can't remember if it was the dishwasher or the kitchen sink, but it was something in the kitchen. And we just, as long as he was out here picking that up, we just kind of asked him for his opinion on it. And not that we were asking for free service or anything like that. And we made that clear to him that we were happy to pay him for, anything if he would work on it, or if he could recommend somebody, and if it was a job that, whether it was the type of job that they would handle. And we just asked him if he would step inside and take a look at it. And this man acted like he was absolutely terrified to step foot in our house. I mean, deer stuck in the headlights. This guy was just, he did not want to come inside. And it we were kind of like, you know, what? Why is he acting like this? Is he afraid of us? Why would he? I don't think we're that intimidating. Why would he be afraid of us? But he did very begrudgingly step in for a moment, which it's literally like 20 feet from the front door to the kitchen. So it wasn't like a long ways that he had to come in. And this guy's a plumber. He should be used to walking into people's homes, even if he felt like we were strangers and he didn't know us that well, which he didn't, and we were. He's a plumber. He should be used to walking into people's houses. In any case, he came in, he took a look, and gave us a very, very brief answer and let us know that he was not at all interested in taking the plumbing job, even though it was supposed to be something fairly minor. And he gave us the name of of a handyman, because I guess he didn't even want to have it go through his business, which was fine, but a little bit weird. So again, we didn't really think too much of it other than these people are maybe a little bit strange. But as time went by, we started noticing other things that seemed fairly small. So just the kind of activity that we were noticing was things going missing, things being moved, and definitely not being someone else in the house that was causing it to be moved or wind up missing, or items literally just popping off a counter. And sometimes you would be in the room right next to it when it happened, and other times it's you're in the living room, and when you're in the living room you can look into the kitchen and see quite clearly, and you could just be sitting there in the living room and watch something pop off of the counter. That's the best way I can describe it, because it's literally like it just popped. You'll see it sit there, and then all of a sudden it just goes bloop through the air and land on the ground. And in some cases this was cups, or, which is odd because it was always plastic cups. It's never happened with, oops. There I go, knocking stuff down. That's definitely going to be my ghostly powers, knocking things down. It always happens with something that's not breakable, thankfully. So I like to think it's a courteous ghost that does not want to actually cause any damage. They just want us to know that we're here, that they are here. So as time went by, my husband started referring to our ghost as, or whatever this was that was causing this to happen, as Bob. And it just kind of became a joke within our family that if something ended up happening, something went missing, something popped off the counter, we'd just be like, oh, it's Bob. Or we'd say, oh, hi, Bob, when he knocked something down. And I guess I should preface this by saying we are not people who, we've had paranormal experiences before. and pretty much all of our lives, and we've never, it's just not something that typically scares us very much, as long as it doesn't seem like it's trying to cause harm. So just the idea of there being a ghost in the house isn't terrifying to us. We view it very much the same way as people. Some people are nice, some people aren't. And, if ghosts used to be people, then it stands to reason that some of them are nice and some of them are not. So it doesn't typically bother us, as long as there's no negative feeling or nothing negative going on. So to us, it was just a joke. We just call him Bob. Oh, that's Bob. And there was no real reason for this name. It was just, something funny my husband picked. As things went by, more things started to happen. And some of these things were just really, really strange. For example, when we first moved in, our children were quite young. And I was laying them down one day for a nap. And I started going around to, after they'd been down for a while, I got up and went to check on them, as you do. And I noticed this really strong smell of smoke, like cigarette smoke. And it smelled like somebody was smoking right there, right in their room or in the hallway where I was at. So I'm smelling this smoke, and I am just starting to, I'm a little bit panicked because I'm home alone and my kids are sleeping, and it smells like someone is in the house and has been smoking in the house. So I'm thinking, someone has broken in. There's someone in here with us. And I panic. I start running from room to room, looking around, trying to find out where this intruder is. And I see no one. I clear the whole house, top and bottom, and there is no one. So my next thought is, this person must be standing right outside the house, right outside a window or something, and peeking in, looking in and watching my children sleep or something. So I have already called my husband at this point and told him, I called him while I was running through the house looking for somebody. And I'm still on the phone with him, and I run outside the house to go look. And I do a very quick run all around the house to try and catch this person that's standing outside smoking. I get back inside because I see nothing. There is no one out there. There's not even neighbors outside of their houses. No one is outside. The neighborhood is completely dead. And I immediately run back into the house, and I can still smell smoke right over there next to the rooms in that hallway area. And so I'm thinking, okay, either they've already run off and I just didn't get out there in time, or maybe this isn't cigarette smoke. Maybe it just smells like cigarette smoke, but maybe there's something electrical catching fire or something, and I need to figure out what that is. So again, I make a lap through the house and make sure that there is nothing, that none of the outlets have anything smoking, or melting or anything. And I'm checking lights, fans, everything I can think of. Nothing. There's no reason for this smell that I can find. And again, I go back into that hallway, still on the phone with my husband, and I'm standing there trying to think of what to check next. And I can still smell that cigarette smell really strong. And then all of a sudden, it's just completely gone. There's not even a trace of it. It's not like it wafted away. It's not like it faded out. It's just extremely strong and then completely gone, like it was never there. And I'm like, okay, well, this is strange, but maybe it must have had to be somebody had been outside and they were by a window and smoking, and it just took a while for that smell to go away or something. That was the only logical explanation I could come up with, and that's what we run with. Well, time passes and a few months go by, and my husband is in the hallway, and he gets that very strong cigarette smell. And he calls me over. I smell it too. And this smell, it's that same cigarette smell, and it's in the same place in the house, the exact same spot. And I tell him that's it. That's what happened the other day. So he runs outside immediately and runs around the house to try and catch whoever it is. While he's doing that, I run around inside the house and clear the inside of the house to make sure nobody's hiding somewhere inside. And also to check and make sure there's not anything electrical going on. Well, as you can probably guess, he comes back inside and there is nothing. There was nothing outside. There was no time for somebody to have gotten away. This all happened. It has taken me longer to explain what happened than what it took for him to run outside and look around the house and make sure that nobody was hiding somewhere. And it's also odd because it happened a number of months later. So if somebody was just creeping out there and they managed to hide, it's odd that it would take them several months to come back and that they would then start smoking outside the window again. Well, this has happened several times since then. And it's not extremely often. It's maybe once or twice a year we will get this smell of cigarette smoke. I don't know if it's the same day each year because I haven't kept that close of track of it. But it's so infrequent that it drifts out of your mind until it happens again. And each time we've always checked to make sure that there wasn't anyone around and that it wasn't some kind of electrical thing. And we've even had we've had it happen when other people were here and they helped us look as well. And again, found absolutely nothing. It's, your guess is as good as mine, but all I can think is that our ghost was a smoker occasionally. So things continued with items disappearing and being moved and things popping off counters. and this smoke incident would occasionally happen. And then something else started occurring. So then we started seeing animals in the house that weren't actually there. And don't think we're crazy for this. It really, we would be sitting, I remember one incident where I was sitting on the couch and I very, very clearly saw a bird, just like a little wren type bird, fly from the kitchen into my sewing room. And I was like, oh my God, there's a bird in the house. And I called my husband over to come help me find the bird so that we could get it out of the house, because I most definitely saw a bird fly from one room to the next. And I was just like, it's here. I know it is. I saw it. We're looking all over the place for this bird. And there is no bird. There's no sign of the bird. There's no bird droppings. There's no tweets from the bird. There's no place for the bird to hide. It is just not there. And we're looking everywhere for this bird. I think I said it flew from the kitchen to my sewing room. I actually meant to say it flew from my sewing room to the kitchen. But in any case, I just remember it flying into the kitchen, and it was not there when we got in there. And there's not really any place for it to hide in there. It's not like we've got, anything besides the refrigerator and a microwave that this bird could get behind. And we checked behind both of those things. So it is, and of course, as you can imagine, if a bird had actually been in the house and was trapped in here, then obviously at some point we would begin to smell something. And we would have some kind of recurrence of seeing it or hearing it or something. And that never happened. So I can't explain the bird. At first, we thought maybe it was just a totem spirit, because that's something we believe in, is totem spirits, and which, for anyone who's not familiar, it's basically the same thing as a spirit animal. I think most people refer to them as spirit animals. To us, our ancestry, we call them totem spirits. And I don't know, that one may still have been a totem spirit, but then there were other animals, like a dog. And this one absolutely terrified my daughter when it happened. So my daughter, my oldest daughter, who at this point was no longer quite so little anymore, she was probably around a preteen age. She was downstairs in the bath, and while she was down there, she saw a large black dog walk right into the bathroom, right beside her. Now, she was in the tub, and this dog walked up within maybe 2 feet of her. She sunk down into the bathtub trying to hide from it and waited for it to go. And then Oops, sorry, hit the microphone. And then once she was sure it had gone, it had left the room, she hollered for us, and we come running down to check on her, and she is just hysterical. She's telling us there's this huge black dog and it's downstairs. Now, mind you, we did not have a dog. Any dog. Not just a black one. We didn't have any dog. And this was downstairs in our finished basement. So there was really no way that a dog had managed to come into the house while it would have had to walk right past everyone upstairs and then open the door to the basement. Not typically a trait that most dogs are able to do. And then walk down a flight of stairs and then walk into the bathroom on her. So not really very plausible that a dog just came into our house and did this. But regardless, we checked the entire downstairs and upstairs just to make sure that, nothing had gotten inside. And again, no dog anywhere. She was pretty shaken up about it. And understandably so. I mean, you have an experience like that. Now, she did say that the dog didn't seem aggressive, and it was more so just the fact that it was there that scared her. It wasn't like an ominous presence or anything like that. So, again, at least it doesn't seem too bad. Just scary to somebody who's not expecting it. So all of this going on, and then recently, earlier this year, my neighbor, she is a Spitfire. She is 80 years old, and we see her out there mowing her own lawn still, and she flew a plane recently because it was on her bucket list. This lady's a Spitfire. I hadn't seen her for a few days, maybe a couple weeks, and I was getting kind of worried about her, so I stopped by just to check on her and make sure that everything was okay. She was fine. She had just gotten a flu or something for a little while and had been in bed for the time being. So, but she invited me in. She was excited to have me stop by, and she invited me in and wanted to talk. So we hung out and talked and spoke for a while, and she was telling me about things about how she still occasionally sees her husband, who has passed away. So she asked me if we'd ever had any experiences in our house. So I go through and I tell her, yes, we've had some paranormal experiences. And I don't go into a whole lot of detail. I just tell her about, the little things that we've had happen here and there. And that we don't really think that it's anything negative. It's just knocking things off of counters and stuff like that. And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, that must be Bob." like, excuse me? Did you say that must be Bob? And she's like, yeah, that must be Bob. He used to live there before you guys, and he passed away while he was there. He was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. You shouldn't have any problems out of him. She tells me our ghost name is Bob. The name that we have been using for our ghost for the past 10 years, and never once spoken to her about before. And I have not seen any. We occasionally get old mail for different residents who lived here before us. Not one of them has had Bob or William or Robert or any similar name on there. So she tells me that his name was Bob, and I'm like, well, okay. And mind you, she doesn't really speak to my husband, so it wasn't like she said something to my husband had told her this or anything. No, that most definitely is not what happened. They don't really, not that they have anything against each other, they just don't really usually speak. So this was definitely completely unprompted that she just tells me this. And my kids don't go over there and talk to her, so it wasn't like one of them let it slip or anything. We don't really talk about it, outside of the house beyond just, oh, yep, that must have been Bob, when something gets knocked off a counter or goes missing. So, yeah, that's my spooky story, or at least one of them. I have a lot of other ones, so I am completely open to sharing those. And if you guys enjoy hearing the spooky stories, let me know, because I would be open to doing this as a series. So please remember to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. That way you can continue to get fun, interesting, spooky stories and sew-alongs and unboxing videos, whatever else I decide to share with you guys on this channel. And also, if you have a spooky story that you want to share with me, my email is in the comments or in the description box, and I would be happy to share spooky stories from you guys as well.